Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will call to order, please. Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Members of council, if you could sign in, please. Mayor Patterson, we have quorum.
Thank you. So first up is Committee of the Whole closed meeting.
Moved by Councillor Boehm, seconded by Councillor Cannon, that council resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole closed meeting to consider the following items. A, an ongoing investigation respecting the municipality or local board or a municipally controlled corporation by the Ombudsman appointed under the Ombudsman Act and Ombudsman referred to in subsection 223.13 bracket 1 of the Municipal Act or the investigator referred to in subsection 239.2 bracket 1 of said act and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, Cataraqui West open space lands. And B, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, nonprofit affordable housing in Kingston.
Please vote. And that carries. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wachaya kwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. So again, I would just like to highlight that June is National Indigenous Peoples Month in the city of Kingston, and so in recognition of that, we once again have displayed the talking stick that was a gift from our Indigenous community to the city of Kingston, again to mark the importance of that relationship here at our last council meeting in June. We did meet in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We discussed a couple of items. One with respect to an ongoing investigation respect to the municipality, respect to the Cataraqui West open space lands, and also an item respect to nonprofit affordable housing in Kingston. So I will ask for a motion to rise without reporting, please.
Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Turner, that council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Please vote. And that carries. Okay, so moving on to the approval of the addeds. We have an additional delegation. We have a motion of condolence. We have the addition of a clause for report number 60 and a report from Heritage Kingston. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the addeds, please. Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Worship, and through you, I, Ryan, the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause 13, Report Number 59, as an employee of Utilities Kingston. It may be perceived that I have a conflict of interest in this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor George.
Thank you, Worship. I, Kevin George, Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Report Number 18-207 as my firm works on projects with CJM.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Candon.
And through you, I, Adam Kane, Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Report Number 60, Clause 3, as realtors in my brokerage represent CJM.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other, yes, Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you. I, Rob Hutchison, the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause 2, Report 60, as a member of my family works for St. Lawrence College. And I also declare a pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause 3, Report 60, because I have previously declared a conflict of interest on this item related to my former employer and have been advised to continue to do so.
Okay, seeing no other declarations of pecuniary interest, we will move on. We have no presentations this evening, but we do have several delegations. So first, we will invite Glenn Volbrecht, President and CEO of St. Lawrence College, to appear before Council and speak to Clause 2 of Report 60 from the CAO with respect to the mid-year update, St. Lawrence College City Partnership and request for funding. And just a reminder to all of our delegations that you have 5 minutes.
So good evening. I'd like to thank the Mayor and City Council for giving us the opportunity to present tonight. Also like to thank Gerard Hunt, senior city staff, particularly Commissioner Lanny Hurdle and Craig Desjardins. And joining me tonight are my colleagues, Senior VP Gord McDougall and Academic Dean Robin Hicks. So I share our respective vision and mission statements to demonstrate how interrelated they are. Last September, I made a brief presentation to Council about SLC, and Council endorsed and supported the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the City and our college. We've always had a great working relationship with City staff. However, the MOU has empowered us to work more strategically on priorities that benefit our community. The MOU was important to us because, as I showed you last fall, we are the very fabric of our communities. Over the past 50 years, we've had over 90,000 graduates, with approximately 63,000 of those grads right here in our community. And as you can see by the numbers, the impact that it's had, particularly when 80% of our grads live within the area, and to quote the City of Kingston mission statement, they live, work, and play here. In fact, 1 in 4 households in Kingston has at least one SLC graduate. And in our most recent economic impact study, the results showed that the college generates approximately $850 million a year. So how is our partnership doing? Well, based on the 9-month report, if I were to ask our Dean, Robin Hicks, she would say we'd likely make the Dean's List at Convocation. I have to say how pleased and impressed I am with the results. I'm not going to repeat what's in the staff report that you have before you tonight, but I would like to highlight a few points of which we're all very excited about. We opened our Innovation Hub as part of our Hello Future project last fall, and its intent is to develop innovative capacity for our students, business, and the community. We've hosted a number of significant events at the Hub, including the Mayor's Innovation Challenge, with the added bonus of having an SLC having a winning team, the Big Data Conference, and tonight we're hosting a healthcare IT hackathon. It's also the home to 2 of our student-run enterprises, Spark and Enactus. From an experiential learning point of view, as referenced in your report, we're working together with the city to develop 20 community-based learning opportunities for our students in a variety of municipal departments to gain that much-needed experiential learning opportunity. On the international front, we now have over 1,000 international students representing over 40 countries studying at our Kingston campus. This has not only added a richness to the cultural diversity of our college and community, but it's also added $25 million of annual infusion to the Kingston economy. And sustainability has always been important to St. Lawrence. We have a number of projects moving forward, including the construction of a new energy house, which will feature one side of the house built to code and the other side to LEED standards. As you can see, there's been some really great work done. But this all leads us to our longer-term vision of creating an international institute of hospitality, tourism, and the culinary arts that will cater to Kingston, Canada, and the world. This Center of Excellence will offer innovative pathways for newcomers to the industry and advanced training for professionals seeking to upgrade their skills. We'll differentiate ourselves from the competition by having a truly unique collaboration with the entire city, business, and industry sector. Our goal is simply to see the community enjoy worldwide recognition. There are lots of elements that go into a center of excellence. Typically, we envision a cluster of related academic programming, applied research, robust partnerships, and a variety of related industry activity. A fully established institute in the downtown core is probably 3 to 4 years off. However, the City SLC Opportunities Office that we are seeking to establish will support this initiative by building the collaboration and partnership model to ensure that we're in alignment with the city and sector objectives. We can commence right away. The Customer Service Excellence Initiative is just one of a number of projects that we could get started. And while this is occurring, SLC will be working on program curriculum development, infrastructure requirements, business and financial modeling, and obtaining the necessary approvals required. So in closing, I leave you this image that we all remember. Just 2 years ago, Kingston and our community was on the world stage. While working together with the city, business, and our community, we can deliver and create a hospitality, tourism, and culinary arts center of excellence that will be recognized internationally and contribute enormously to our collective vision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? So I have a quick question. So just to catch the vision of what you're presenting to us, is the idea that a few years down the road, both Kingston and St. Lawrence College together would be branded as one of the leading front-runner centers for tourism, hospitality, culinary arts. So this is both a St. Lawrence College thing and a Kingston thing, is
This
that
is absolutely that. Yeah.
amazing? Thank you. Councillor Schell.
Thank you. Even though it won't strict when it's moved downtown, I take it, of course, you're looking for an actual physical location, but with the idea that the students will be able to move to various businesses and enterprises in the downtown. Is that part of the idea that there will be a real partnership with businesses?
This whole model, absolutely correct. This whole model is based on a truly collaborative nature with the tourism sector and business downtown. It's what's going to make this model unique and differentiate us from the competition.
Wonderful. Councillor Stroud.
You may not answer this. Thank you for. Does the model make any projections about housing needs? Is the model such that all of the students' time will need to be spent in a particular geographic area that will need more housing provided? I know, for example, at main campus, you've got all those new residences there for that purpose, and right. I'm wondering about this downtown campus, or if it's too soon to say that.
Right. You're looking at, as I said, something that would happen in about 3 to 4 years as part of our collaboration and part of our engagement with the community, with business. We'll sort of put those parameters together and see what we're looking at and see what kind of residence type activity that we need, if any, or if we're able to accommodate that on our main campus. The idea in this partnership is to truly work with the sector, with the tourism sector, with business, so that we're building something together together, and that we're meeting everyone's objectives on this.
Thank you. As a graduate of your institution, wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, moving on to our second delegation, Dr. Hal Kane, Events Director, Cycle Kingston Incorporated, and Dr. Neil Scott, President of Cycle Kingston Incorporated, will appear before council and speak to Clause 1 of Report Number 62 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee with respect to the Active Transportation Master Plan.
Five minutes, right? Okay, so I'm Hal Kane, and this is Neil Scott. We want to thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to speak about this issue of the proposed active master transportation plan. So we're from Cycle Kingston, which is a not-for-profit charitable organization that provides cycling safety training and addresses safety issues and promotion of cycling in general. So there are a few particular aspects that we'd like to address with this proposed active master transportation plan, and we'll focus on, it is active transportation, but we'll focus our comments on cycling in particular, since that is our area and our mandate. Not our only interest, but what we feel very comfortable speaking about. So just to remind the council and others that for a long time, planning for any kind of cycling or active transportation involved 5 different E's. Those 5 E's are engineering, education, enforcement, encouragement, and evaluation and planning. So the engineering is, of course, that's the most obvious one with the physical infrastructure, not only the things that are happening on the road and off-road paths, but also in the engineering that goes around things such as bicycle parking and other more tangible types of issues. Education, that's the programs that really are both not only awareness, but also sharing and teaching of skills that are part of that, getting people out on bicycles and having them be competent and confident cyclists. Encouragement, those are the initiatives that have to do with just promotion of cycling in general, making bicycle more of that convenient, that fun, if you will, way that commuting in the first choice for any type of transportation, as opposed to grabbing the keys, you grab your bicycle helmet. Enforcement is that just what it sounds like, it's the enforcement of both the laws and the bylaws and other rules around cycling. So the bicycle is part of the Motor Vehicle Act. There's provincial laws, there are municipal bylaws around parking and other things that has to do with cycling as well. And then the evaluation, the planning, and that's the ongoing, what we do, whatever plan it is, to continue that on and make sure that what we're doing at any particular moment is working. The reason I wanted to emphasize this, we wanted to emphasize those 5 E's is that this master transportation plan really follows that model and has spoken to all of these areas within the component of that plan with the active plan that's part of it. So just a couple of really quick things just to kind of highlight within each of those areas. With infrastructure, it needs to be a balanced, not just to focus on what's on the road, but also end-of-road facilities, such as the parking, sheltered parking, or short-term parking. That's in the plan. The education component, obviously, is what we like to, and that's our focus of Cycle Kingston, but it's also recognized in the plan. It's very important to do that. The encouragement is things such as festivals or other, especially city-sponsored events that celebrate and look at cycling. We just had Cycling Week in the first week in June with some participation in the city that from the city's part as well, and it was great. We'd like to encourage that. Enforcement, of course, is working with the Kingston Police Force as well as bylaw officers and doing those type of things. Then the planning and evaluation that comes as an ongoing process. All of these are part of this plan. One of the concerns that we would like to remind, and it's concern in quotations, but we want to emphasize that it needs to continue to support all of these components, that we need to have a balanced approach to this plan. There was a recent article in the WIG that was quoted from the University of North Carolina study that
30
said
seconds.
that it takes a lot of time to make change in a community, and it has to be that balance. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have for us, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Neal.
And just want to comment and congratulate you on Cycle Week. I saw all kinds of participants. What was the, did you keep a count on the number of people that participated that rolled up for breakfast at the square?
Thank you, Councilor Neal. Yes, we try to keep count. Sometimes it's difficult. We have various activities. So the 5 breakfasts we have each of the weekdays. St. Lawrence College was had a rolling breakfast this year for the first time in the history of Cycling Week, and it was great. I think they had the most of around 60 people at theirs. The other ones were in the neighborhoods of 30 to 40 to 50, depending, and we had some weather. So, and those are just people that stop. We see a lot of people that go by and wave, say, I'm late for work, I can't, we say, well, write a note, they still don't stop. But it's just being out there, being visible, and that kind of thing.
Deputy Mayor Holland.
Thank you, Rourke. Thank you for the presentation. The question I have, I guess, is, first of all, I'm curious, and I'm not aware, my apologies, whether you're medical doctors, either?
No.
No, okay.
PhDs.
Okay.
So that just, I mean, it's not for the formality, but also just to know that we have research and we have lots of types of informed knowledge on our topic as well.
So, okay, then I guess you'll be able to answer this under any circumstance. So I guess the question really is sort of about, if you could speak a little bit to, of course, we're looking at a certain mode share, but within the active transportation master plan, or even just in your own experiences, can you speak to sort of the health benefits? Is that part of your, when you talk about the 5 E's, is that part of the education? And if so, what would you promote from that perspective?
I'll speak, my area is rehabilitation counseling, and so I've had lots of work in rehabilitation and medical aspects feel. So we know that the cycling has lots of health benefits, both from a cardiovascular perspective as well as from a neurological perspective. There's lots of research going on with things such as Parkinson and other types of disorders that cycling in itself happens to mediate those kind of issues a bit. And then, of course, there's the overall just physical fitness from a musculoskeletal perspective, joints. It's it's the lowest impact activity other than swimming. So bad knees, this type of thing.
Councillor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks for the presentation. Thank you for your dedication to such a worthy cause. As a segue to what Councillor Holmes was saying, when I had a chance to ride my bicycle through Cuba for a while many years ago, and someone just mentioned to me, "Oh, you're riding a deflator," and I'm like, "No, my tires are not deflated." It's like, "No, that's what we call it. It's like it's in Spanish, right? So that's what we call it. We call it the deflator because you start out big like this, and if you ride a bike, you get deflated." Right? I thought that was pretty funny because it's true. The guy that was riding that bike was very thin. Anyway, my question is, so I get that you're in favor of the ATMP and you're excited that it's coming, and as am I, and you've said a balanced approach. So for the mode share specifically, can you just give us a little bit more insight of how safety plays into growth in mode share for active transportation?
Do you want to address that? Okay.
I think one of the comments that we often hear from people about why they don't ride their bikes is they say it's not safe. And that, I think, is really an issue related to experience to a great extent. I ride my bike every day all over Kingston, and I don't feel like it's unsafe, but that's an experience and an education and a skills thing. And a lot of what we think is important is that we need to build the skills all around the city, get more people out riding bikes. The more people that are riding, the safer it'll be. But all those things have to happen together to make this plan successful and to reach the ambitious mode share targets that Council has set for active transportation.
Thank you.
Councillor Osterhoff.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Thank you for your presentation. And I have a couple of questions. Share an experience too. We were invited to Ottawa recently, and our friends in Ottawa said, well, bring your bikes. And I said, no way. And but we did. We brought our bikes and we were downtown, and before you know it, I was in fear and trepidation, but we biked all the way along the Ottawa River, all over the place. And by the end of the day, I thought I was good at it. But I'm slowly getting around. I've never biked through Kingston besides the KMP Trail. So I'm still learning, and I read your entire book, and I'm quite impressed with it. But coming from a rural perspective, I don't know how much input you have, and I do have. I'd like to know how much incorporation you have in that. But I've had lots of requests about the financial part of it, and I was kind of staggered to see the large budget numbers, like really, really large. And I wouldn't have had any guess. Can you explain that a little bit to me? Maybe I'm not understanding it. Is this a taxed increase, or how are these funds raised that are required to complete this plan?
With all due respect, we're the delegation, the budget, and everything that was developed by the people, the consultants, and as we did the TAC. I don't have that privy. I can tell you, though, that I've been involved with cycling and cycling works in cities, municipalities for 20, 30 years. There is always a cost, but the payoff is always, and speaking of general, is always return because of the health issues and because of the less condensed and traffic and those type of things. So there is a huge trade-off, and I think some of the cities, Ottawa you mentioned, is a good example of that, that they've seen a lot more people mode share, which is better for the environment, but also it brings a certain amount of stability to the community from a financial perspective. Cyclists, I'm a cycle tourist, and I've cycled a lot of places. So one of the things that cycle tourists, and that's part of the plan too, is attract cycle tourists. Average cycle tourist is somewhere between 80 and 100,000 per household that comes. So it's not just out there, you know, it's not only poor people, or it's everybody rides bicycles, but it does bring those kind of things. So if you're looking at an active plan to have cycle tourism, this really would boost that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you very much. So we'll move to our third delegation. Robert Shagus, lawyer, and Bruce Downey, heritage consultant, will appear before council to speak to clause 2.1 of report number 63 from Heritage Kingston with respect to the application for heritage permit 81 to 83 King Street East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council, for this opportunity. I am speaking to the recommendation by Heritage staff for the proposed alterations for 81 King Street. I've been involved in heritage preservation for my whole career. It's about 40 years. 30 years of that was spent on the Heritage Committee, advising applicants as to how they might alter a property and improve it and maintain the character of Kingston. What sets Kingston apart is not just that we have a face of heritage, a building face. We have the whole building, and it's not just the whole building, it's the whole block. It's not the whole block, it's the whole neighborhood. It's that whole ball of wax, really, that gives authenticity, that really gives Kingston, sets Kingston apart, in that we offer people, visitors to Kingston, an authentic environment, a truly authentic, full and walking through environment. And I think that in the period of time that I've worked in Kingston, I've gained an understanding of what principles of design and of site design, building design, contribute to that authenticity. I applied those principles on work I did to 85 King Street, which is next door, of course, to 81 King Street. And in that, recently, there's approved through Heritage all of the work, a stone wall on one border of the property, which there are stone walls on 3 other stone borders of the property. An alteration to a porch where there's a porch, an alteration to a carriage house without altering the envelope of that carriage house more than adding insulation to its roof and putting windows in it. In other words, the envelope didn't expand or move outward. I think that it's always a balance when working on heritage properties. I know that sitting on the committee, people who came forward who wanted to do things to their properties, it was a balance that the committee had to strike in our review of it as to whether or not this was going to compromise the authenticity of that property and what recommendations we might make to minimize the compromise to the authenticity of the property. And I think that 81 King Street is such a case. I think a lot of effort has been put in to ensuring that this property can be rejuvenated. It's been somewhat ignored for quite a while, and now there is someone who wants to bring it back to a single-family home, add some beautiful additions to it, rejuvenate it, and I could see that it's very difficult to not say, well, let's go for that, let's go for that. And I think as a result of that, there was a unanimous decision by the Heritage Committee to approve the alterations for this. And last evening at the Committee of Adjustment, they got approval for all the variances in order to ensure that move forward. So you can see that there's a lot of people really wanted to make sure that this moves forward, that this happens, and I applaud that for sure. The one element in this that I think that I would like Council to consider is, in the light of that spirit of compromise, is that you approve those conditions, but you remove the garage from that. The garage is an element of that building that comes into the front yard that no other property does in this historic area of the city of Kingston, and it's certainly something that I have never been able to, well, I hadn't applied actually to have it done in any of the projects that I worked on. So I'm suggesting, since there's so much building going on the east side and the west side of this building, that perhaps alternatives should be looked into. They have a very good design team, a very good heritage consultant, an owner who is dedicated to quality by the looks of what I've seen from the documentation. And all I'm suggesting is that Council hold off on the garage approval until alternatives are investigated within the other major alterations, major additions that are going in this building, to see whether or not an alternative could be brought forward that was more ideal, as their heritage consultants writes, that this isn't ideal. So we could possibly have something that's more ideal
30 seconds.
than what we propose. So that's what I'm suggesting Council consider this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Downey. So just to paraphrase what you've just asking Council, if you would like Council to amend the heritage permit that is being advised by the Heritage Committee so that they do not have permission to build for the new building of the garage that projects into the front yard? That's specifically what you're asking?
Yes, with the suggestion that alternatives be investigated as to how, because I know they want a garage, so those alternatives must be investigated. I don't believe they have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Oh, I apologize. It's 5 minutes per delegation. I'm just wondering, did you want?
I was told that I was going to be a separate delegation from.
Oh, okay. So we can do that. So procedurally, what we're going to need to do, because we've had 3 delegations, I'm going to need a motion from council to add Robert Chegas. So Deputy Clerk, if we can just note that the 3rd delegation was Bruce Downey, Can I have a motion to add Robert Shegas as a fourth delegate? Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. It's the procedural maneuvering for this. Thank you. Okay, please vote. Okay, and that carries. Mr. Shegas, you have the floor again to speak to council with respect to Clause 2I of Report Number 63 from Heritage Kingston.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Council, for letting me speak. Good evening, Your Worship, Council, Councillor Stroud and Shell. Hello again. I'm the lawyer for the abutting landowner to the east of this property, Mr. Stephen Sorensen. And as his lawyer, you would expect that you're going to hear whatever he wants, and he has a difficulty with the garage that's being proposed, and so you would expect me that I would go on, and I won't bore you with that because that's what I would be I'm just being paid to do that. But Mr. Downey doesn't blow his own horn enough. Mr. Downey is a esteemed, well-respected architect and heritage consultant, and he's devoted 30 years of his life to actually sitting on Heritage Committee. And so he served the city well, and he's had his hands on the pulse. So when I speak, I don't expect anybody to listen, but when he speaks, I think you have to listen. And in his report, the conclusion is, the present site layout, placing the new garage in the front yard, is an anomaly, and I would be surprised if it was not stated as undesirable by the heritage planners. The solution is not consistent with the understanding of site layout offered to me during the 30 years I spent serving this city through the Heritage Committee and its predecessors as well, with my work on historic properties in other communities. So all that we're opposing, as was indicated in Mr. Councillor Stroud's question, is just the garage. There is a 87 square meter garage that is proposed to come out from this building. We have no questions about anything else, but, and again, as Mr. Downey states, a 1.5 three-story garage the size of a small home is being requested in front of the yard of a historical property. This is not a new window or a dormer or paint color. This is setting a different kind of bar. And it's ironic, and I pointed it out at Heritage Committee, that when one goes through the Heritage Impact Study that was done by Andre Scheinemann, there's a provision in here that says the addition of a fourth window in the second floor bank of windows is being investigated. Current solid walls have been found to either side but void location of window. Thermal imaging indicates heat loss there as the same as windows to either side. The missing window is sized exactly to the other windows. There have been partitions added at a later date. If it was there, it'll be put back. So I'm just amazed at the technicality of replacing one window when a 20 by 40 foot garage is being put in, is being proposed to the garage for the proposal. As Mr. Downey had said, I think the designers have done what they can to address a solution that is, as their heritage consultant says, not ideal. If you go through Andre Scheinemann's Heritage Impact Study, there's two things that you're going to find. Number one, that this garage, the existing garage, has been there possibly since 1843, and that it's always been set back from the front facade from King Street. There are drawings that he's provided, maps, 1865, 1875, 1908, that confirm that. And when he goes through the heritage, the statement of cultural heritage value for the property, it says that why this is so important is because it has the stepping back of facade planes from the west to the east, the stone walls and general volume of the existing garage, which may have originated during the Watkins area, and the deep setback from King Street, the large front yard.
30 seconds.
In his own words, he says, of essential importance is that the original stone walls, south and east, and the volume of the existing garage will be preserved, though the garage itself will be substantially extended to the north. Ideally, this extension would not be beyond the existing front porch. I really ask you to look at this. At Heritage Kingston, the Committee of Adjustments last night, the Derbyshires showed up and they said how much they love this property, how much they've been looking forward to it. If they love this property that much, they won't walk away from it with a slight design. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the delegation? Councillor Schell.
Just something I picked up on, if it's, the garage has been there since 1843, you agree it would have been a stable?
Exactly.
Okay. And that you did mention the deep setback from King Street. You agree that this house is set at the farthest south edge almost of the lot line, whereas the house that you, the owner you represent, is set at the furthest north almost of the lot line.
But I would point out that if you look at the design, basically everything from the part of the building between the existing garage and the dwelling, that's going to be taken out. This is going to be all brand new. It's going to, I would defer to Bruce as to what the actual addition is, but that in itself is a significant addition. And so instead of coming out, why can't they just bring it over and keep the garage facing where it's been for the past 150 years and for which there's no precedent?
I would just say welcome to the world of heritage. Thank you.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have no further delegations this evening. We do have a couple of briefings. So Gerard Hunt, Chief Administrative Officer, will first provide introductory remarks and introduce Rob Kawamoto, Executive Director of Tourism Kingston, who will brief council with respect to information report number 1, quarterly report for Tourism Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to briefly indicate that part of the work that was done over the last couple of years to address the new incorporation of Tourism Kingston and to separate it from the former corporation of Kingston Economic Development. Part of the agreement with council was also to introduce service level agreements, which you endorsed over a year ago. As part of that, there was indicators that were initially advanced that would demonstrate what the success might look like as it relates to the funding agreement that you provide funding for these organizations. And this is the first opportunity that both Tourism Kingston and KEDCO have to brief council on some of those indicators. It is clearly an attempt to increase accountability and transparency here for council in accordance with the recommendations that came from the reviews. And secondly, it is the first time that we've had official presentations, which will continue on a quarterly basis hereafter. So I'm going to take the opportunity simply to indicate to you that we have both Tourism Kingston, Rob Kawamoto, with us tonight, as well as KEDCO, Donna Gillespie, and some members of their teams here to do that. And I won't be back to introduce Donna, Mr. Mayor. I can do it all through this one opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gerard, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to present to you our first quarter results for the new Tourism Kingston. It's about a year ago, actually, almost July 17th will be my first year anniversary as head of tourism here in Kingston. So it's gone by really quickly, and we've achieved a lot in the short period of time that I've been here and putting the team together. And I'm very proud and pleased to present our results first quarter 2018. Are you going to roll the slides for me, or can I do those? Okay. So basically, I'll just do it this way. So again, I'm just going to be providing some of the top-level results on some of the metrics that follow the service level agreement that Gerard pointed out to. And in that, we'll be talking about the different lines of business that Tourism Kingston is currently focused on and reporting results on. So it'll be marketing and communications, and different areas through our business lines, as I'll go through right now. So these are just Q1 activities, some of the highlights and some of the things that we accomplished in the first quarter in the marketing communications area. Some of the things we're working on obviously was the Briar, the 2020 Briar. I'll get to that a little bit further when we get into the sport tourism section and talk a little bit more about that there. But as far as the marketing communications section goes, you'll see here some of the key things that we've been doing with media fams and bringing travel writers and bloggers, specifically via rail, and different types of communication groups that talk about Kingston as a destination and why travelers would want to come here. The CCTY acronym is for the Canada-China Year of Tourism. We led a delegation to Toronto and introduced Kingston to the Chinese delegates that are coming here when the federal government announced this initiative, and Kingston was in the center of that as well. Some other highlights here I'll mention with the RTO 9 funding. Those are dollars that we work with the Regional Tourism Organization 9, which represents Prince Andrew County, right through the 401 corridor to Cornwall, including Kingston. And in that partnership arrangement, we are applying dollars to marketing in different areas for Kingston through the en route rest stops along the 401, and dollars into the Makers and Creators program, and talking about all the great things that Kingston has to offer for visitors to engage with our arts community. The TIP funding is a tourism industry partnership program, and that is again another partnership with our partners in the RTO, Gananoque, Rockport, and different partners throughout the region. When we take a delegation, we're going to be doing a Chinese campaign in China. They have different types of vehicles and communication access, which are not the same in North America, so we'll be speaking to that marketplace. And we'll actually be taking a group of people in October, including myself, to go visit some of the buyers and some of those tour operators in China. Here are some of the results and some of the metrics in this particular segment. You'll see on the left-hand column the web visits and all the different activities in that category as you follow down that column. And then to the right of that, you'll see the goal. We set targets for us to achieve numbers on an annual basis. That's what that 2018 goal column stands for. And then, of course, the 2018 actual year to date is ending March 31st, and giving you a sense of where we are year to date for that. And then again, showing in the far right column the percentage the goal actually achieved in those categories. So for the first quarter, roughly 25% achieved so far in the web visits, and you can see some of the other numbers we've actually exceeded that 25% or first quarter area. For example, in the Instagram followers, we've actually gained more followers than we thought we would in the first quarter, and continuing to grow. In the Visitor Experience Center, one of the key things we did in first quarter is we worked with KEDCO and with OTT Pay, and they are a mobile pay company that actually provides mobile pay services right at retail point of sale locations. We had purchased 20 of those mobile units to be distributed through our businesses in Kingston. We actually have one of these units in our visitor center there. I know that we had 10 right away businesses actually join up with some of our restaurants and some of our retail outlets. Over the last few months, though, we've actually picked that up. It's closer to 18 businesses now have engaged with this particular unit. And basically, the trick here is that for a Chinese visitor, for example, they can use this mobile pay. It gives them access to Alipay and WeChat, and they can actually use their mobile phone and press it onto the retail machine and actually pay for their items that they purchase here, which goes directly to their bank account in China. Most Chinese travelers, when they come to North America, are only allowed to, the government only allowed them to bring $10,000 US cash. So this gives them another opportunity to use dollars to spend and buy more things while they're visiting here in North America. And they can be here 4 or 5 weeks with 4 or 5 family members. So $10,000 cash doesn't go too far. Also, this will also play an important role for a lot of our Chinese students who come through Queens. You'll see about 4,000 Chinese students in Queen's University that are here during the semester. And again, they'll have access to these same businesses where they can spend their money and access their bank accounts in China. Also, we're working on the OTAC Ambassador Training Program and Tourism Awareness Week. 2 very important initiatives that the Visitor Center ran engaging with our community. Here are some of the metrics in the Visitor Center. We're looking at the number of visitors that come through. Again, you'll see the goals that we set for 2018, and then you'll see where we stood first quarter, year-to-date actual. So you'll see where, again, this is January, February, March. Really, the tourism season hadn't started yet, so it's just starting to pick up now. So you'll see numbers like 6%. Well, that's in the 3-month period, so it'll start to grow as we move forward. And then on the tour buses, the cruise ships, you'll see, we'll be tracking that data as we go into the busy season now. You'll see numbers start to pump up there. And of course, our retail and commission sales will also start to grow as we move into the second quarter. Meetings and conventions, you'll see some areas, some activities we did here with attending some trade shows and making sure that we're getting the word out to our customers who want to bring meetings and conventions to the city, and also in the travel trade area with the travel buses and the different tour groups that are coming into the city. Sport tourism, again, I talked a little bit about the Briar. We spent a lot of time on that, and I can proudly say today that we put the bid in to Curling Canada today. They received it, they have it, now we wait. But I do want to take the opportunity right now to thank the mayor, council, and all the business community in Kingston who got behind setting this unprecedented bid together as we all pull together our resources and our activity, promoting it, doing the ticket sales for the Save Your Seat program and some of the PR that we did. So it was a very, very big task for us, and I'd like to thank everyone for that. We were rated actually in first quarter as one of the top 10 sporting host cities in Canada. Kingston was right up there and ranked number 2 in population size for hosting sporting events. So a very good reputation sport tourism. The film office, as you know, has been working very hard attracting location scouts and bringing those people to our city and looking and giving them opportunities to find locations to shoot for our TV productions and teaching and bringing together the production community to actually provide services to these production companies when they come to town. Again, more of the metrics, more in a sales model, all 3 of these, sport, film, meetings, conventions, travel, trade. You'll see that the tentative room night column on the left-hand column indicates goals in the tentative basis, and the asterisk just explains a little bit about what a tentative room night is. That's an opportunity we send to our community once we have a hot lead, if you want to call it that, where they're actually interested in bringing their business here to Kingston. So on our goal of 7,000 meetings, conventions is at 26%. Sports events is way ahead of itself after first quarter at 73%, and film production starting out a little bit slower but working up at 14%. This is like the top of the sales funnel. These are the pipeline where we have those opportunities so we can close. Definite room nights would be the ones that are actually confirmed. So from that pipeline and tentative, we're trying to close on those opportunity leads that have fallen into these different segments. So you'll see the targets are, according in meetings and conventions, you'll see the 1,000 room nights there at 18%. Again, we're ahead in sport at 44%, and film production events are at 28%. So overall, we are 30% of our goal, a third of the way through. We're on track and on pace to hit our goals to the end of the year. This area here is referring to travel trade, but leads and referrals and permits, and that's in travel trade and in film shoots. And again, you'll see the goals, you'll see the actual numbers there, and the percentages where they have achieved after first quarter. In the financial piece, the final section here, there's a couple areas I just wanted to focus on. Results after March 31st, we were showing a deficit of $18,000. So we're still on track. We're in a good position right now, which I'll explain in just a minute, with all of our spending year to date for the first quarter. You'll see in this particular slide, it's referring to some of the revenue items that are expected to come in to help in our revenue line, to try to offset some of the expenses that we had in the bottom end of our financial summary. You'll see there that in this particular point, I'll go back here under the Kingston Accommodation Partners, you'll see there's no number in there at the end of March. But going to the next slide, you'll see that there's $77,000 in there. That was more of a timing thing, where at the end of the first quarter, we report to the CAP board, give them our results on what we spent, and then they give us the dollars of that $286,000 once they've approved our spend and what we spent those dollars on. So we receive that money actually in May. So that's why it's showing now. You'll see the partnership dollars there of $100,000 coming through the Kingston Penitentiary Fund. Those dollars were in the revenue line up here as partnership program. Those dollars were not received at the end of first quarter, but they are now. We received them in June, actually on June 22nd, not the 15th. So those dollars are now in our account and offsetting some of our costs for operations for second quarter. And the same kind of follows through the other end. The final item on the bottom, other funding, $225,000 there. You'll see it's allocated to some of the leverage dollars that we're using from the RTO9 and applying dollars in some of the marketing and digital campaigns. And then the TIP, the Tourism Industry Partnership Program, of $165,000 is also now actually coming to our accounts now as some of the time has gone by past March, end of March.
30 seconds.
And this is kind of broken down now at this point. So this is now showing the 20,000, the 40, and the 165. The two areas for the KP or the Kingston Penitentiary Funds, our agreement with SLPC in the city of Kingston, there's $400,000 there, split with a combination with CAP and a combination with SLPC. Those dollars are contingent on KP's profit earnings. So we will not know if those dollars will come into our bank account until July. We'll have a better sense of forecast when their season ends in October and how those dollars can be spent going forward for the rest of the year.
Great. Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Councilor McLaren.
Thank you. Being a Trekkie, I noticed that there's some connection between Kingston and Star Trek Discovery and The Handmaid's Tale. How likely is it that they'll be filming here in Kingston, and can you expand on what's happening with the movie scene? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Councillor, through the Mayor. It's very interesting, the people that we were bringing in from the film and media world on the production managers. A lot of these scout locations managers actually deal with different types of television shows like Handmaids and Star Trek Discovery. They are very likely to shoot here at some point. They just need to figure out where, for how long, and what their budgets are going to allow them to do. So we put incentives in place for some of the film media production groups to make sure that they pick Kingston. So they've cited us, they like us, they see us. Now we need to close them and convince them to come here. We also had a recent FAM 20 production company, actually they were scouts, production scouts that came in May, and we were able to get them into the Kingston Penitentiary. That was one of the biggest accomplishments, I think, thus far for our film office. When they saw that facility, their eyes lightened up to be able to get into that facility because it's perfectly set the way it is. You don't have to do anything to it, and it's very unique, and it's one of a kind, and it's only in Kingston. Very exciting.
Councillor Neal.
Thank you. As you're probably aware, Mayor Dennis Doyle and my colleagues, Councillor Holland and Councillor McLaren, are on KFL&A Public Health Board, and ALPHA, which is the provincial public health body, is coming next year for their provincial conference in June. And I just want to thank you and your employees for doing a great job of encouraging organizations to pick Kingston for that kind of event. Thank you.
So, thank you. Just a note only. Thank you. Councillor Sen.
Thank you for your interesting, Mr. Kawamoto. I just have two questions. So for the marketing segment, when you talked about website visits, and I know they're on track, if you want us to start talking about the website, the official Tourism Kingston website is visitkingston.ca, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and for the Visitor Experience Center, because we're going into the long weekend and it looks like it's going to be great patio weather this weekend, you had down here that there's a patio deck opening at the visitor. So do you want to talk about that? Does it face the water or where is it?
Yes, it does. It's I was familiar with it, but it's the deck that actually off to the right of the train when you're looking toward the water. We've opened it up this year and we put flower boxes on the staircases so they can only enter guests can only enter from the front. We've opened up that second door. We've put Muskoka chairs, which I'll call Kingston chairs, because they're red and we use them for FebFest in Kingston, and there's 12 of them there. And so far, when we put them out in the beginning of May during Tourism Awareness Week, it's been a huge hit. A lot of the visitors are coming there because depending on the time of the day, it's in the shade, so they can rest in the shade, they can relax, they can sit down, enjoy the drink or some snacks, and it's been really, really well received, and we're just going to continue to grow that area for our visitors.
Thanks, we'll make sure to visit.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Thank you so much for all the work you've done on securing the Briar, or possibly securing the Briar here in Kingston. Really appreciate your work on that. Question for you. Your patio in the back of Tourist Kingston, is it licensed?
No, it's not.
No, okay. Also, I was wondering, I know Kingston is our waterfront is a huge asset to the community here, and I was wondering if you had any plans for your future projects would be to encourage people to dive off of the approximately 400 wrecks, historical wrecks that we have within the Kingston area. If you've thought of that in any way?
I certainly have, and I think it's an important area to really look at Kingston's waterfront and the access we have to the water. During our integrated destination strategy, which is underway right now, we are actually talking about product development of things that are in Kingston and looking at the assets that we currently have. The water is one of the assets we've always had in Kingston. It's been one of the reasons, the beginning of Kingston, when Kingston was born, why Kingston was selected for being a shipping center and shipbuilding center, and all the marine elements within that. And those 400 ships were here for a reason. So I think what a great opportunity to access that and use the water and bring visitors here and talk about those stories. I mean, 400 ships is a lot of stories to talk about. I know I think the Ontario, which was a battleship for the British in 1812, Brenton Smith actually called me, I think, the first 2 weeks I started in Kingston and gave me his book. He wrote a book about that and was talking about how that could be an important story to tell. And talk about experiential tourism, where you're actually diving into the water and actually seeing these wrecks. I think it's a great story to tell, and it's something we need to look at and integrate into our plan moving forward.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to our second briefing. Donna Gillespie, Chief Executive Officer of the Kingston Economic Development Corporation, will brief council with respect to information report number 2, quarterly report from Kingston ECDEV.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction, Mayor Patterson. As outlined in the service level agreement with the City of Kingston, the Economic Development Office was directed to focus on core activities in the portfolios of investment attraction and investment aftercare, business retention and expansion, support for small business and entrepreneurs, support for workforce development, jobs and skills building, and support for knowledge industries, young workers, technology transfer from post-secondary institutions, and incubation, innovation, and enablement. And we've lumped that into a high-level emerging sectors category. So January to March seems a long time away, and will be part of the reality of our reporting cycle. Q1 activities are outlined in the provided CEO updates, which I provide to the Board of Directors monthly. At the beginning of the year, there's always a focus on board orientation, getting committees up and running, and housekeeping to close the books for 2017, which this year included the separation of Tourism Kingston. It's also a time of planning and starting to implement activities outlined in our sales and operating plans. So I'm very pleased with the results of the organization in the first quarter, and we've continued to build on these going forward. So I'm going to provide a few quick high-level details and leave time for questions. With regards to investment in traction and aftercare, I'm sure anyone who's traveled to the west end of the city by the Cataraqui Estates Business Park has seen the construction at the Faya Canada Royal Milk Facility. So it's proceeding well and is reported to be on schedule. We're pleased to report that at least 7 local companies we know of have been engaged to date as suppliers or subcontractors. We continue to work with the Ontario East Economic Development Commission as well as our Provincial Ministry of Agriculture to look at opportunities for goat dairy, crops, and other related supply chains. Early in January, Kingston ECDEV hosted a one-day business summit on entering and expanding into the Chinese market. We worked with the Office of the Consulate General of the People's Republic of China, and the event was attended by over 75 local Kingston businesses. We are also pleased to announce the launch of the pilot program with OTT Pay, as Rob mentioned, which is perfectly aligned with the Canada-Chinese Year of Tourism. And to highlight, it's not just for Chinese visitors, but we do have, as Rob said, over 4,000 international students from mainland China who are attending both secondary and post-secondary institutions, Queen's and St. Lawrence College. Carrie Bittness, our business development officer, was able to join the Ontario Investment Office in Chicago earlier this year to meet with North American site selectors. And we were very pleased to be receiving Invest Canada Community Initiatives federal funding to support our foreign direct investment marketing activities. So with regards to the numbers, leads generated, 37, and that's related to inquiries, delegations and trade shows, and referrals from provincial, federal government, commercial agents, site selectors, and we consider a lead qualified if we're going to report it in this case. So this isn't a business card or a person I met in passing or Carrie met in passing at an event. These are qualified leads that we've researched, had follow-up contact, and that we believe at one point, and the time frame can extend from months to years, could be an opportunity for jobs and investment in Kingston. Number of leads resulting in new investment would be the OTT Pay. And in terms of new grants, between January and March, I can only report on what the Economic Development Organization received through Invest Canada. With regards to business retention and expansion, a big focus for the first quarter was to develop and implement a formalized business retention and expansion program. So this is a model developed by the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and is used in a variety of sectors. We chose to focus the first rollout of this on the Kingston manufacturing sector. And the goal would be to identify and survey local manufacturers and identify challenges and areas for growth. We're looking forward to releasing the results of this survey, which is now complete, and the analysis in September, bringing together local manufacturers for an advisory committee and information summit. We also hosted numerous workshops for local businesses in February and March focusing on exporting. 2 sessions with trade commissioners were offered looking at Latin American countries as well as African countries. And we partnered with the Canadian manufacturers and exporters to host a roundtable in February with the manufacturing sector to discuss energy issues, Bill 148, cap and trade, and workforce development issues. So between January and March, 47 company visits or one-on-one consultations with local businesses was undertaken, with a report of 7 jobs created or retained by clients that our organization were working with. Of the 47, that's approximately 20% of the 2017 year-to-date total. So we're pleased. It's tracking a little bit under the quarter, but that's, I feel, standard for the beginning of the year. For startups and entrepreneurs, the new year is always busy with individuals interested in pursuing concept of starting their own business. So our inquiries were definitely up, as well as our consultations. We were really pleased to be working in the first quarter with St. Lawrence College to develop a new suite of educational workshops for entrepreneurs and business owners. So this program actually launched in April, but the work was undertaken in the first quarter to work with professors and to leverage the knowledge and expertise that we have at the college and bring it into Innovation Park, where we could share it with businesses we're working with or individuals who have ideas for starting a business. As I mentioned, our numbers were up. We were approximately, for new businesses that were started, that were working with us, that was approximately 30% of last year's total, so for being 1/4 of the way through the year. Extremely proud of the team for all the programs, seminars, workshops, and events that they organized. 21 were conducted between January and March, and that's close to 40% of last year's total, with a total of 414 individuals attending these events. We were also able to leverage funding opportunities. I noted 4, those being Canada Business Ontario, which provided sponsorship for an event we had with Andrew Davis talking about branding your business, branding your community, as well as provincial funding we've received for the Starter Company Plus program, Summer Company, and the Community Futures Development Corporation, which was a partner in one of our programs. For workforce development, our big activity in the first quarter, and very pleased with the timelines, in January we launched the first career apprenticeship pilot program. And this came about, it was the idea of a funder, Alan Rottenberg, who approached Queen's Advancement and said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could help arts and science graduates find their first career with a Kingston business? And his interest was using Kingston as a pilot community and hoping to roll this out nationwide. He's the father of 2 arts and science grads, and he felt that he saw a lot of talent and challenges with his sons as well as their friends in finding the way to get their foot in the door. So he set up a program, and it was trial and error, and we were working on it and evolving it as we went from January until the first job offer was made late in March. But we were able to support 8 new arts and science graduates start their first career in Kingston. So the funder, Alan, is providing financial support to provide on-the-job training for the first 4 months of these new grads' careers, and employers are committing a full year of employment. So it's a win-win for everyone. Alan has very visionary said that he wants to support 35 positions in the 2019 cohort. We also partnered with the Thousand Islands Region Workforce Development Board, and we facilitated the Employer One survey for Kingston area businesses. This is a role we've taken on for a number of years, so we contact local businesses, get information, and we feed it into a broader survey. So that was released early in Q2. So total number of businesses engaged for workforce planning consultations was 87. We had the 1 report, which was released, and supported 3 partnered events and activities. Also very pleased to be part of the city's Workforce in Migration Steering Committee, and we have myself and staff sit on various subcommittees of that group, so we're working closely with the CAO's office on that implementation. For emerging sectors, we signed a Memorandum of Understanding in March, and this was at the Ontario East Economic Development Economic Disrupted Conference, and that's an MOU with Syracuse, so SUNY Upstate Medical University, the Central New York Biotech Accelerator, Center State Corporation for Economic Opportunity, in partnership with Queens and Ontario East, to look at a Kingston-Syracuse pathway. So this builds on other corridors, Canadian and US corridors, pathways, I think there's 3 in the country, so we're very pleased to have signed this memorandum and looking at creating not only soft landing pads for companies looking at doing business in each other's country, but also as a way to share academic research, especially in areas of agri-food as well as Lyme disease. We've also started working with Fuse. This is a Kingston-based group recently created to help startup companies in the area of new chemical processes, clean tech, and this is in partnership with Green Centre Canada, Kingston Process Metallurgy, and DuPont. So very pleased to have recently signed that MOU and looking forward to new developments in that area. In terms of innovation ecosystem partnership development and maintained, not only do we have Fuse and the Kingston-Syracuse pathway, but we also have strong connections with Switch. We have an innovation ecosystem which meets weekly, and that's with Innovation Park, Launch Lab, Southeastern Ontario Angel Network. So we sit around and we talk about clients we're working with and what's going through the pipeline and who can best support. And again, Launch Lab and a partnership with Watertown, because Watertown certainly wouldn't want to be left out if we have a pathway to Syracuse. With regards to communications, I noted in the report that in terms of social media, we maintain 2 primary campaigns. So one would be the Kingston ECDEV. So that's looking at internal audiences, Kingston stakeholders, and it shares information about our upcoming workshops, opportunities for businesses to be engaged, if there's funding opportunities or information that our local audience might be interested in. We also have an external-facing platform at Kingston Canada. So this promotes more the Kingston lifestyle, businesses, career opportunities to an external audiences as an attraction and an investment tool. So I provided statistics for both. In terms of our website, we oversee the kingstoncanada.com site, and we have 2 core sections, doing business in Kingston and the living and working in Kingston. With regards to newsletter, and it didn't fit on this slide, we do distribute those monthly, and we continue to increase our subscribers and are pleased that we have over 50% open rate, so people are opening our newsletters.
1 minute.
I didn't provide an overview or a slide with regards to the budget that I did provide up to the end of March, and we're tracking as one would anticipate for the beginning of the year. We have a bit more revenue in, much like as Rob indicated, some of our revenue that has been committed we haven't seen deposited, and expenditures are in line for the start of the season. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have no further briefings this evening. Are there any petitions to present? Councillor Bohm.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. This is a petition on behalf of Ryan Farron. Started this petition to the City of Kingston. Every day, thousands of plastic straws are used in Ontario, many of which are not recycled. These straws wind up as waste in landfills, but also wind up as waste in local waterways. We want the City of Kingston to ban the use of single-use plastic straws like other cities have done. There's 1,054 names on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. George.
Thank you, Worship, and through you and the talking stick. I have a petition here that's been presented to me by a young man in my district by the name of Henry, and I'm just going to read a couple of the paragraphs as to why he has put this petition together. He's asking all of us, have you ever thought of building a basketball court in the Bert Mounier Common Park? I think the city should build one because it's fun, physical fitness. He says, think about this. Too many kids in our neighborhood are bored because the park is too childish. Nobody my age, 11 and older, is going, and I believe the park is going to waste. Kids are hanging out at gas stations and picking up bad habits. Do you really want kids to start smoking? It's my belief that too many children aren't getting enough fresh air. They are too busy playing on their phones and video games. Kids aren't learning the important skill of socializing with kids their own age. For example, I read that I think it's 2 million kids and adults play Fortnite 8 or more hours a day. Not good. So at the end of it, he's saying that basketball is a very popular sport, and I see quite a few kids in my neighborhood playing basketball on the road. Or a second On a second sheet, which is attached to this letter, are names of just some of the adults and kids who would also like to see a basketball court, even just a hoop, added to the Bernier Common Park. And I think that's great that somebody that age takes it upon themselves to do something good for their community. So I'm going to present that and ask that that be forwarded to the appropriate staff member, and there's a number of names attached to that.
Thank you very much. Noted. Okay, if there are no other petitions to present, we do have one motion of condolence. Moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Holland, that the sincere condolences of Kingston City Council be extended to City Councillor Jim Neal on the passing of his sister, Sandra Neal, who passed away on Thursday, June 21st, 2018, in Tucson, Arizona. Sandra will be dearly missed by all who knew her. Our thoughts are with her friends and Councillor Neal and family during this difficult time. We'll call the vote, please. And that carries. Okay, we have no deferred motions, so we will move on to reports. First up, we have report number 59 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that report number 59 from the Chief Administrative Officer, consent, be received and adopted.
So there are 13 clauses. We are separating clause 13 for Councillor Bohm. Are there any other separations? Councillor Hutchison? I'm sorry? 3. Councillor Schell? Any other separations? So we'll first call the vote on the items that have not been separated. So clause 1 is award of contract, life cycle replacement of fire apparatus, fire rescue boat. Clause 2, award of contract, injection of tree asin into ash trees. Clause 4, City of Kingston Emergency Response Plan version 6.0. Clause 5, parking bylaw, minor amendments. Clause 6, Mekong Vietnamese restaurant sidewalk patio application. Clause 7, 2018 final tax capping limits for commercial, industrial, and multi-residential properties. Clause 8, request for noise exemptions, Queen University Student Experience Office Orientation Week events. Clause 9, Kingston Election Compliance Audit Committee. Clause 10, Kingston Frontenac Public Library Central Branch Renovation Extension and Temporary Accommodation Leases. And Clause 11, Zion United Church Foundation request for loan from the Social Housing Capital Reserve Fund. So we will call the vote, please. And that carries. Okay, clause 3, award of contract, supply of organics, transfer, transportation, and processing services. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you. My question has to do with the term of the contract. Given the current government uncertainty in regards to the what used to be Service Stewardship Ontario, I can't remember the name of it now. Given the uncertainty of what's going to happen there, I'm presuming that staff took this into account. But I would like to know why a 5-year term under these conditions.
Ms. Roberts.
Through you, Your Worship, this particular contract is for the transportation of source-separated organics. There is no stewardship program at this time for that kind of material. There is a stewardship program for recyclables, and there is an organics action plan that has been presented by the government, but there has been no past regulation.
Okay, so that's going to proceed from the other recyclables. Is that what I take from what you said? Answer, yes. She nodded, okay. Well, just more technical questions. You considered things to do with why and why not to take cat litter and the questions about that and dog waste and so on. So, Mike, and you indicate that Norterra does the organic transfer, transportation, processing services. Who's in charge of the sales? Is there sales or is it just something we provide to farmers or?
Just have to hit the button again.
Through you, Your Worship. The sale of a finished compost is up to Norterra Organics, which is owned by Tomlinson Environmental. The city doesn't have anything to do with the sale of finished product that they create off of the supply of green bin waste that we deliver to them.
Okay, so you consider it a city issue. Okay, so you went into some detail about the component nature of cat litter and why it's very difficult to recycle. But you say it may have something to do with curbside organics and generating renewable natural gas, which the whole idea of renewable natural gas sounds very good. Is it possible to burn that stuff, the cat waste, given that the nature of what's in it, which is a lot of organics by the sounds of things?
Through you, Your Worship, the report indicates that renewable natural gas solutions are being reviewed by Utilities Kingston. And no, typically a renewable gas isn't generated by burning organics. It's by capturing the gas off of those, usually by agitating them, or I won't get into all of the different processes. The one thing that we want to be sure of, if we add anything into our green bin program, that it's sustainable. And so we don't want to be later on, if new processes become available to us and perhaps it is suitable for Utilities Kingston to use our green bin waste in the future to generate a renewable gas, that we not add anything into the program too early that may not be compatible later on. So we do work typically in 5-year increments in this contract, and as new technologies become available, we just feel that if we're adding things in, it does need to be a sustainable.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sanik.
Your Worship, I just wanted to thank Director of Waste Heather Roberts for adding that really explanatory section about pet waste and diapers and why we can pick them up or why we can't, because we're often asked that. It would be a lot easier to adhere to our 1-bag limit, if only if we could, do pet waste because we got 3 cats and 2 dogs, or that we have, 2 kids that are still in diapers. What can you do? What can you do? And I think I still have one of your original emails, and I just do cut and paste, but now we have a report that really outlines it and explains, what the current status is that we can then distribute when we get asked that question again. So thanks very much for putting it in there.
Okay, thank you. So we will call the clause 3. And that carries. Okay, moving on to clause 12, former prison for women, potential redevelopment considerations. Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Petters. This is a very exciting item to read. One question, just to clarify, this is just the beginning of the process. We agree to these. There's still masses and masses of things that have to still happen.
Mr. Hurdle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The answer to that is absolutely. There will have to be applications submitted for every single component that are actually identified in this report. What we're hoping to get from council tonight is a high-level direction in terms of council's interest in exploring these 3 different elements and different approaches for this very unique property.
Thank you for that. And the exploration of the Heritage Committee, there's just mention of the interiors. So there's no mention of looking at the cell blocks in terms of demolition or anything. So I take it that the possible purchaser is interested in the entire building, and we're talking about they're fixing up the entire building with perhaps some interior changes.
Commissioner.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So we see there isn't a detailed application that's been prepared and put forward. We do know that regardless of the type of reuse, whether it it's office use or residential within the building itself, that the interior does create some challenges as far as some of the designations. So the focus has been on the interior. I would expect that when there is an application, there would be a more fulsome conversation, of course, involving the members of Heritage Kingston.
That's very good news. I'm very happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question has to do with the Brownfield Community Improvement Plan pending application, I guess. Let me just say I'm inclined to support this, but I would wonder if by going on what appears to be like a one-off application for a Brownfield Community Improvement Plan application, are we setting a precedent? We just changed the outline of the Brownfield, the SIP, not too long ago. So I'm wondering if staff have taken that into account.
Commissioner Hurdle.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So obviously, council is not being asked tonight to approve any kind of brownfield application. I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's more in terms of the overall direction. As far as applications, we have been and we do allow property owners to submit applications to have their properties being considered as new project areas. We recently had 700 Gardners Road and 223 Princess Street that council actually approved to be added on as project areas. So the applicants or the property owners do have the ability to do that, and this is something that would be consistent with our past practices.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank
you, Your Worship. First of all, just I guess because a couple of the answers already have had to do with clarifying, reassuring council that this is really just a first step and it doesn't imply approval of any particular application. So I would ask the obvious question, is the prison for women under new ownership? And if so, what phase of the ownership are we at right now?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Mr. Mayor, so as per the executive summary of the report, there is an accepted offer on the property. My understanding is that offer has not been finalized at this point, but should be shortly.
So the offer is not finalized, so I presume, knowing from what we already know about this property and the former owner of Queen's University wanting to sell, I'm concerned about the precedent set to do anything that might directly increase the property value while it's still under negotiation. I assume there's some conditions or something that need to be signed off on. So I'm wondering about the time-sensitive nature of this direction from council, and if there's any way we can wait until the ownership change is complete.
Commissioner Hurdle.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, so as I indicated, the offer is obviously accepted, so it's quite far in the process. They're not at the beginning of negotiation at this point. It is, council can choose to defer this matter if it wishes to do so. I think, though, what I do want to point out is the elements that are identified in this report would be elements that we would bring to council for consideration regardless of the property owner and the potential redevelopment, because they are challenges in terms of property redevelopment, and it is a very important site that we should be trying to find ways and creative approaches to make sure that there is eventually some redevelopment.
Okay, so if I were a member of the public and just looking at this, I might wonder about the timing, because Queen's held the property for many years, and we always knew that it wasn't probably for a prison that Queen's was holding it. And the obvious question is, why didn't we look at these obvious hurdles to repurposing at the time that Queens was the owner? And I presume the answer is because they never asked us. So that brings up one more question. It's like, were we asked by the current owners to, was staff asked to bring forward some of these things that we see in the report today?
Commissioner Hurdle.
And through Mr. Mayor, so we have had obviously discussions with the most likely new property owner, which has an accepted offer on the property. Staff were not asked to bring anything. Staff decided that it would be a good approach to be proactive, to bring something to council rather than be reactive. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. These issues were discussed, obviously, with the potential property owner.
Okay, well, I'm happy. I've asked all my questions, so I just have a comment. There's a little bit of a misperception in the community, perhaps, especially perhaps in the development community, that heritage designation bylaw will block all development potential on a property. And as chair of the Heritage Committee, it's my duty to point out that that's not necessarily true. What the Heritage Committee does is advises council about heritage properties. We have one tonight in the Heritage Report that we heard about from a delegation where the Heritage Committee had heard from, and worked with staff and the consultant and everything. It's fairly detailed. This happens with any heritage application. Obviously, any property that's designated, it would come to the committee. You don't need direction from council for the committee to review a designation bylaw. If the designation bylaw is a problem for the application comes forward, the Heritage Committee hears the whole case. The consultant for the applicant will tell us what the barriers are for redevelopment. This is all considered in the heritage process. Does not require any extra heritage council direction for that to happen. So I'm just very sort of uneasy about the way this happened. And the first I heard about this is actually through the media. And as chair of Heritage, I was never approached by staff about this possibility. I just want to point out that I find this highly irregular, but I see the benefit in opening the discussion, and so reluctantly I will support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Councillor Kidd.
Just a quick question regarding timing of this. Why did city staff wait until there was an accepted offer to bring this forward?
Commissioner Hurdle.
Thank you, and through Mr. Mayor. So we didn't wait until there was an accepted offer. We obviously had discussion with the potential property owner for a period of time. We actually felt that we were at a point where we had a better understanding of what the challenges were. It just so happened that at that time there was an accepted offer.
But I think it seems pretty obvious. Look at the site and the marketing of the site and how long it took for this site to become available to the public. It wasn't a secret, and these things that were coming forward, these three items, seem pretty obvious. So it just seems like bad timing, and it doesn't seem like very good business practices to wait until somebody gets an accepted offer to start changing the lay of the land this dramatically. If we had a time machine, it would be more appropriate to do this thing up front so that when people put their offers in, they knew what they were buying. Because right now we're dramatically changing the process, which I don't know who put offers in on this property, but I'm sure they're not too thrilled that we're dramatically altering the state of the property halfway through the process. It just seems like bad business practices, but I'm not sure which is worse, the cure or the disease, because I want to see this site developed. I think it's a good site. I think it's a good developer, but the timing and the optics of it seem very poor quality in my opinion, and I think we can do better next time.
Thank you, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Pam, I'd like to move on approving this agenda item, and I think that the building's been empty for a very long time, and I think that an opportunity has come before us, and I think we need to move forward, and I think this is a good opportunity. It's good economic opportunity as well, and it's a beautiful historic building, and I think we need to move forward. So I encourage council to move forward on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Deputy Mayor, will you take the chair?
I didn't recognize you.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments in relation to some of the other questions and comments that have been made. I think it's important to note that we are not doing anything here tonight that is going to fundamentally alter anything. We are simply sending an initial signal that this is a property that we would like to see redeveloped. And I think that that's an important opportunity for council to be able to send that signal. This is a property that has sat vacant for a number of years, and we can talk about all the whys, but the point is that we have a window of opportunity now to move on this. And so sending that signal, obviously there's a lot of work yet to be done, many applications, much debate, much discussion yet to happen. So there are still a lot of unknowns, and I would say that even the purchaser, there are no guarantees that just taking this property that everything is going to go by accordingly. But I think that we can take this opportunity just to say that this is something that ultimately, if we can get the details right, this is something that would be of great benefit for the city. So again, I would encourage council to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair.
If there's nobody else who wishes to speak, we will call the vote on item 12. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, clause 13, mid-year update, smart city. We will call the, Councilor Ostroff.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. So this particular file is of interest to me. I have a lot of requests within the Countryside District about smart city issues and the whole broadband issues. And I'm just wondering if there's anybody who can address. I don't know if Craig is here tonight. Is Craig?
Yes, he is.
Oh, sorry. So I don't know quite what to ask, but you know, in some ways, I'd like to know how the rural issues. I think Craig is aware of the issues, aware of the concerns of the areas that we don't have high speed, and what areas of this smart city are we able to influence the areas of the countryside and the rural areas that don't have broadband? Is there any way that we can influence the businesses that cover that to provide better broadband for the residents of Kingston?
Mr. Desjardins.
Through you, Your Worship, to the councillor, I guess just regard to two items, one being the smart city component. As part of the efforts for the Smart City Challenge Fund, the working group from across the city, including Utilities Kingston, did look at technologies that related to improved connectivity, digital, social, and physical connectivity of those in the rural community. So that was part of the sort of the application of the technology. In terms of the broadband strategy, it's certainly a very important process relative to the rural community, and will include not just the issue of fiber optic connection, cellular connection, but also Wi-Fi connection. So we're exploring all technologies. You'll recall, Council, that we did have someone from the private sector come in during the Bell presentation and talk to us about mesh Wi-Fi technologies. So there are technologies available that we're exploring to try and cover the rural communities.
Okay, and I want to make sure I'm not off topic, but I know I've been to the Roma conference. I hear a lot of different angles on this one, why it's lagging within the rural community, and I hope that we can have some more engagement on that, and so that I just think that there's more that can be done, and there's issues in the courts and of sharing the broadband and where we fit in that, and I'd like to think that we have the ability to influence change or move things along, and I'm hoping that this will do that. If there's, you can comment on that.
CEO Hunt.
Well, I'll augment what Mr. said. Recently, within the last 2 months, Council approved a cell gap contribution, and should that project go ahead, that in one way will be able to support more connectivity in the west, or in the rural area. We're also currently in discussions with the EORN project, which is the Eastern Ontario Regional Network project, to see whether or not there can be perhaps some enhancements built off of those towers. So I've had some initial conversations on that, but that's all part and parcel of some of the next steps that we would do. We do intend to ask Utilities Kingston to undertake what would be a broadband strategy, which would get at what are the gaps in the service, what are the solutions, who are the service providers from the private sector and others that maybe that may already have services in those areas that we could leverage. We don't think that building Utilities Kingston fiber is a economically feasible approach, but we do think that there is a ways that we could go to enhance connectivity. And so all of your discussions that we have had before, and Councillor Sanik's, are in our list of things to assess. And when we report back to you as soon as we can, we hope to have some information on that.
Well, thank you for that, because it's a very critical for the rural of Kingston, and I would love to be part of those discussions too, and relay some of the messages and concerns that I have and ideas as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sanik.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And to expand on that, I just wondered if staff have a good handle of where those gaps in high-speed internet north of the 401 exist, and if there's any way that maybe a survey could be mailed, or however those residents could be reached, and just ask them, you know, what their experience is. Because I definitely know one gap is Jackson Mills Road, Burbrook Road, McIver Road, that vicinity right there. I don't know how many other vicinities, and what those residents want, what I hear, because some of them are my friends, is that they want a contact person at City Hall, right, that they can just go to and get updates or to complain to. They just want, they don't want to hear about a strategy because it's like, what's in it for them? They want a contact person so that they can know where the city is going along, and we are putting $100,000 into it. So I just wonder what staff think, if that's a possibility, you know, directly to the residents to find out exactly where those gaps exist.
Mr. Digit.
Your Worship, through you to the councillor, yes, an engagement process will be a part of the broadband strategy. Again, the first component of that strategy is actually to assess where the holes are. So feedback from residents and businesses is a critical part of that.
Okay, so we will call the vote on Clause 13. And that carries. Okay, moving on, report number 60 from the CAO.
Before we move on, Councillor Boehm, you can return. Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that report number 60 from the Chief Administrative Officer recommend be received and adopted clause by clause.
Okay, so there are 3 clauses. The first is Municipal Greenhouse Gas Challenge Fund, Round 2. We'll call the vote, please. And that carries. Clause 2, mid-year update, St. Lawrence College City Partnership and request for funding. We'll call the vote, please.
I'm going to have to recall the vote, people. Thanks.
And that,
So, no, just to clarify, I have to recall the vote.
Okay. So please vote now. And that carries. Okay, Clause 3, 7 Right Crescent Agreement Update. Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. I had just a few questions. This is a major development in my district, so if I could ask the commissioner just a couple of questions. This has almost been 4 years since this was initially approved. Has there been any money that has flowed from the city? I know that there were certain benchmarks that needed to be achieved beforehand, but is there any investment to date in this development?
Commissioner Hurdle?
Thank you, and Mayor. So no, there has been money approved by council in terms of investment through Townhomes Kingston, but there has not been any money directed to townhomes. So no, staff have not issued any of the funds approved by council.
Thank you, and I know from the report that although it was anticipated to have happened by now, that there's been no transfer of property to date.
Commissioner Hurdle?
Through Mr. That's correct. The property ownership is still with the city, and part of what is in front of, obviously what's in front of council would enable the city to make a decision on the property transfer one way or another.
Thank you. And last question is that the parties that were part of this agreement before, I'm thinking of Carrico CJM property, they, on a go-forward basis, they would still have an opportunity to put a proposal in that would be considered by the city. Is that accurate?
Commissioner Hurdle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the answer to that is yes. We haven't determined yet what that process could look like, because we know that with the RFP process, for example, we've been having some challenges where 4 years later and still not an agreement in place. So we do not know at this point what the process would look like, but we would definitely look to work with partners in terms of redevelopment of that property.
Thank you. And my final, having been involved in this for some time now, is that I think we need to maintain the priority of the original concept to have mixed affordable housing on this site. The good sisters who owned the location before, as I understand it, the city purchased the property at a pretty good price because of that understanding, that commitment that we made for that. So I'm looking forward to maintaining that principle in whatever go forward way we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and stick. So basically, this came kind of late, like at the 11th hour today. So it's kind of hard to sort of juggle all this. The reason it had to come so quickly is because on July 5th, essentially, everything ceases to basically exist as far as this agreement, which doesn't really give staff any time to actually talk with the proponents and come back before the next council meeting. So basically, and to that point, there's no guarantee that if we went through the whole process again, that a new RFP would yield any better result or anything else. And we still have a chance here to kind of work with one of the parties, or at least kind of come to the table, but that's precluded by the fact that basically there's a deadline. So what I have here is a motion to defer. It's basically staff's helped draft this, and the mayor has agreed to second it. And so it's basically reads that council defer clause 3, report number 60 to July 10th, 2018 council meeting, conditional to CJM Property Management Limited agreeing to a change in deadline to amend due diligence conditions from July 5th, the original deadline 2018, to July 11th, 2018, in the current purchase and sale agreement for 7 Wright Crescent.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate or discussion in respect to time or... Councillor Stroud.
You know what I'm voting on? We're talking about a 6-day deferral. Is that correct?
I think I would interpret that as 2-week deferral because we're going from one council meeting to the next council meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so we will call the vote then on the motion to defer. Please vote. And that carries by a vote of 6-4. Okay, moving on, report number 61 from Planning Committee.
My apologies, that was a wake-up call. I have report number 61 duly moved and seconded.
Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Turner, that report number 61 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
Okay, so there are 4 clauses. Would anyone like any of them separated? Councillor Neal? Number 3. Councillor Turner? Number 1. Okay. Okay, so first we will vote on Clause 2 and 4. Clause 2 is approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment, 294 Rideau Street. And Clause 4, approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment, 2666 Princess Street and 1027 Midland Avenue. Call the vote. And that carries. Clause 1, highest and best land use study for the Kingston Airport final report. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you, Msin. I just wanted to thank the former airport staff and David Snow and Peter Higginboss and his staff and his team for this amazing report, the highest and best land use study for Kingston Norman Rogers Airport. It's a fabulous read, and it's actually, I'm going to call it the manual for economic development at the airport, and I'm very pleased that it's come forward, and I highly suggest that it's bound and sent out to everyone in my community. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Osterhoff.
Good evening, but I just want to echo those words. Very, very well done report and very impressed.
Okay, thank you. So we will clear on Clause 1. Okay, and that carries. Clause 3, approval of an application for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, 575 to 611 Princess Street and 510 Frontenac Street, 605 Princess Street Limited. Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. I just want to mention that this passed unanimously at planning. In its original form, I probably wouldn't have been able to support it, but it's come a long way. They reached out, and both with peer review and Mr. Totteran's recommendations, the design elements are very, very close to really nailing what the Williamsville zoning requires. And so I'm quite comfortable supporting this. I know that there's been some talk about community benefit. If I could just ask, as I understand it, there's been a commitment for a neighborhood outreach specifically for that community benefit. Perhaps somebody could comment on that, staff.
Ms. Agnew?
Thank you, and through your worship. So yes, our intent to facilitate a community discussion in and around the community benefit that's been defined for this related to the Green Street treatment that's written about in the Williamsville policy specifically for this area. We're just looking at details on what makes sense logistically, but we're in the planning stages of that, and you'll see that in the next couple of months coming forward.
Thank you. Finally, I mentioned planning, and my colleague, Councillor Osanek, has kindly agreed to a lot of the questions that came up through the public process had to do with, could be addressed through appropriate site plan agreement. And so I will be bringing forward a motion through the clerks, I've already spoken to them, for our next council meeting, requesting a bump up in order for there to be an opportunity for the public to address issues regarding site plan. So that will come forward, and I think we can do that in a very timely fashion, I would anticipate. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll call the vote on Clause 3. And that carries. Report number 62 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. The EITP Committee, I rise to present this report. Number 62, moved and seconded. Just want to point out it does contain the Active Transportation Master Plan, which we discussed at committee.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that report number 62 from the Environment, Infrastructure, and Transportation Policies Committee be received and adopted.
Okay, so there are the two clauses. Would we like them separated? Okay, so we'll first consider Clause 1, Active Transportation Master Plan. Councillor Stroud.
Thank you. I have a question for staff. I'd just like to say in preface, I was very impressed with staff's work on this project, but I just wanted to ask a question that may not be immediately obvious when you take a first glance at the plan. I mean, everyone understands that we don't currently have an Active Transportation Master Plan, and if we pass this, we will. But what does that mean? And so I understand that it's a long plan with a long time horizon, with a lot of flexibility, but yet a lot of framework has been established with this first iteration. I'd like maybe the staff that worked on it to sort of give us a little bit of detail about how that framework works, how the funding fits into the framework, to sort of answer an earlier question to the delegation from Councillor Osterhoff.
Through you, Your Worship, thank you, Councillor Stroud, for your question. I think from the standpoint of what the Active Transportation Master Plan, or the ATMP, provides, is it does give us a plan for how we would develop the city's cycling, walking, and rolling networks over a long period. Within the plan, we've broken down the network that we're building into two main components: a citywide network and a neighborhood level network. The citywide network and where those citywide network routes are present are intended to be somewhat fixed, in that it provides a guideline for what we would incorporate on those roadways or off-road trails. Whereas the neighborhood level routes are more of a guide and are meant to be more dynamic, to be determined as part of a neighborhood level consultation that we would complete through the transportation focus area work that's also outlined in the plan. With that, as you note, it's a long-term plan, a 20-plus year horizon for implementation of the infrastructure, but also the programs that go along with it. And with that, the approach is to then take this framework that we have and bring it back in more manageable implementation components. So part of this, part of the recommendation that's included, requests that staff go back and then develop a 5-year implementation plan based on this framework that's been provided.
Right, so that's the point. So basically, we're going to see this again when the first 5-year implementation plan comes to, and it will have budget numbers attached to it that we need to add to whatever budget year would be paying for the implementation.
Through so the intent is that the components that are contained in the implementation plan we would provide both the capital and operating costs associated with that for consideration at that time.
Okay, so that's all. To also mention off that my understanding is essentially that number that you're talking about, like a bit of a sticker shock when you see it all in one place. It's for 20 years and it's citywide, and it would be some of it will be part of road reconstruction that we're doing anyways. So all of that detail will come back to us, and we'll get to consider it at the time.
Next on my list is Councillor Neal.
Thank you. I thank staff as well, and both our city staff and the consulting staff. It's an excellent report, and I hope many of us will be here when the next budget comes out and we have an opportunity to actualize the recommendations that are here. I think it goes a long way to addressing the concerns that were expressed by the community when we did our transportation master plan, and it goes a long way to helping us to achieve those very ambitious targets we set up for load share. And so I look forward to that. I also, just a reminder that some years ago we received, I think, the bronze recognition at Complete Streets for what we had done as far as being able to enhance our infrastructure, bike infrastructure. And I think with this in place and a plan to actualize this, we should be in a slam dunk to move up to silver rating for Complete Streets, which I think is an ambition that the city should have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Also, thanks to staff for all the hard work over a long period of time, putting this together with lots of consultation. I think the public was really excited to be engaged and to share their ideas on what shape the city of their dreams would be, and this is a big part of that. So thank you for all of that hard work. I did ask this at committee, but I wanted to just bring it up again, just to sort of, in case anyone in the public is curious. So when we prioritize, as was mentioned, moving forward, the various plans that come back and sort of chunk it out, I guess, do you have a sense at this point, or what factors would be determining parts of the network that get developed first? So for example, when we did the waterfront master plan, there was a prioritization, a ranking, and do you have a similar system in mind for this?
Yes, so that's the next phase that we will undertake. It's bringing forward some recommendations on how we would phase the implementation. There is a process or a structure that has already been presented in part to the public as part of our initial consultation. But I guess to summarize it, we would be looking at finding a balance between creating those citywide components. So how can we address some of those missing, in particular, east-west connections across the city? But also, how do we leverage all of the investment that we've made in the city's transit system by creating neighborhood-level connections that allow us to sort of move people from their doorstep out either onto the citywide active transportation network or out onto our citywide express backbone. So those, I think, to sort of bring it up roll it up, those would be some of the main considerations that we would look at. And then we would also begin to look at sort of, where there are other projects underway, where there are opportunities to achieve some economies of scale in some of the work that's being done, and also where there is a demonstrated need from some of the analysis that was done as part of this plan.
Thank you. So I guess I just wanted to say, of course, I'm very supportive of this. I think it's an excellent plan. And I just also want to encourage council to keep in mind as we move forward with these investments that we have seen already the benefits of investing in transit in terms of getting people out of cars and relieving pressure on parking and relieving pressure on our road system. And this plan will help with that. But beyond that, it will also help improve health and quality of life for people in the city. So I think if we keep our eye on that prize as we move forward, it will help us to kind of wrap our heads around the expenditure part when we get there. Thanks.
Okay, so we will call the vote on Clause 1. And that carries. Clause 2, Kingston Environmental Advisory Forum endorsement of active transportation master plan. We will call the vote, please. And that carries. Okay, nothing from Committee of the Whole tonight. We have several information reports. Oh, I missed something.
Report number
63.
Report
number 63, thank you. Report number 63 from Heritage Kingston.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this was on the added. I rise as chair of this committee to present report number 63, moved myself, second by Councillor Schell, for Council's consideration.
Moved by Councillor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Schell, that report number 63 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
Okay, so there are two clauses in report number 63. Would anyone like them separated? Councillor Hutchison, yes? Okay, so we're going to separate them. So we will deal with Clause 1. That is with respect to the application for Heritage Permit 752 King Street West. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, on to the second clause, or under number 2, application for Heritage Permit 81 to 83 King Street East. Councillor Hutchison.
Worship, well, we heard two on this and the question of the garage, whether it was appropriate or not. And I will admit that I didn't know anything about it, okay? And I looked up and down the sheet we were given that is attached to the addeds, and I didn't see anything about a garage. So I'm asking staff to tell us what the nature, I think I know what the controversy is. I just want to know why it's not an issue, apparently not an issue for staff, and that it is being put forward with, despite the objections of neighbors and architects.
Ms. Agnew?
Thank you, and through you, start by orienting council to page 13 of the report. So that page there and specifically has a number of paragraphs that deal with the addition of the garage and the discussion and the evolution that staff went through in terms of the iterations with not only the applicant in this case, but also went through the process with Heritage Kingston through the in-person meeting and also having additional information flow through our dash system on the technical review in particular. What you see before you tonight and what was approved by Heritage Kingston in principle related to the recommendations represents something that was a very iterative process. There was a lot of work, so what is there tonight represents change and compromise from the applicant related to the technical feedback specifically from staff and from Heritage Kingston. We also went through this from a land use compatibility perspective. We looked at the HCD policies and staff were very satisfied that on balance, this represents something that meets the intent of the policies and then could be supported from a heritage perspective without having consequences related to the overall heritage value of the property.
Okay. Okay, I'll ask a more specific question. And that is, the main point of contention seemed to be the length of the proposal and how it protruded out from the house itself. And that was found to be acceptable for what reason?
So through the process, staff did look at that. In particular, there were conversations, there were modifications that were made to the proposed garage based on those conversations. Related to the orientation, there was a sense that the orientation would be appropriate from a couple of reasons. One is that it would minimize the impact of the view from King Street in particular. And secondly, it would also provide sort of like a courtyard feel, which there were elements of that elsewhere within the HCD. So from that perspective, it was something that would create a comparable result to other alterations that have happened within the area. And from that perspective, staff deemed this to be a supportable project.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Neil.
Thank you. Quick question. I believe I heard them mention that this passed at Heritage unanimously. That's the case. As much as I respect Mr. Downey, I think we would need really compelling reasons to vote against a recommendation, particularly a unanimous one from our Heritage Committee. I think once in 14 years I voted against a Heritage Committee recommendation. So I'm quite comfortable supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strapp.
Thank you, Worship. And yes, Councillor Neal, like it was said before, at some point, it is our decision here at Council. The Heritage Committee advises us, so decision rests with us, especially with this type of file, which is Part 5 Heritage District file. The decision is in the Heritage Act is given to Council, and the Heritage Committee did work extensively on the file, not just at the committee meeting, but in meetings with staff in the interim between the pre-consultation where they first presented their vision and then the final presentation to Heritage. We met with staff, members of the committee on several times. Both Councillor Shell and I were there. There was an evolution, as Ms. Agnew was already saying, an evolution over that time period of ways to make the project more heritage compatible. I mean, if I could sum it up, I could just say that the building right now, after 100 years, almost 100 years of tenant occupation, is reverting back to single-family use. And in that 100 years, of course, many alterations were made for the tenants, and the most recent ones, you know, you can see when just at first glance, like the big fire escapes and so on for fire code and things like that. There's many non-heritage additions already. These are all being removed with the redesign, and then there was other additions, new additions being proposed, such as the garage, that are we had to struggle to kind of see whether they fit the district, right? Everything is judged against the district plan, the Heritage District plan. And you'll see in the package, I made a submission detailing exactly what parts of the plan I thought were relevant to what was being submitted and whether the plan is satisfied, you know, and in my opinion, you know, I went through several points, and it in the context of a building that has already been altered multiple times from its original state. In fact, its present look as a Queen Anne's revival with the diagonal wooden beams, that isn't even an original feature. That was an early renovation in the 1800s. So it's very complex. And so you have to sort of judge it by the final quality. And there's definitely quality there. The architect is from a reputable firm, and the overall look of the place, I believe the residents of Sydenham will be happy with it. However, the garage is definitely the most controversial element. So just to deal with that question, I would ask Ms. Agnew, under the Heritage Act, is Council given the ability to make an amendment to the heritage permit to ask for, as Mr. Downey was asking, a redesign of the garage only?
Ms. Agnew?
Thank you, and through you, so council does have the discretion to make an alteration to the recommendation that's before them, yes.
So before I make a suggestion, so we heard a compelling argument from Mr. Downey about the garage and its incompatibility. Some might say it's incompatible with the neighbor's view primarily and with the neighbor's vision of heritage primarily and not necessarily with the Heritage District Plan, but I'll just say it right now. If someone else wants to move such amendment about amending the garage, I didn't put in my submission that a two-bay garage rather than a three-bay garage might be a way to get a win-win on this file. If someone else wants to move that amendment that we alter the permit, I will second it and support it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to move it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Councillor Shell? Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor George is first on my list. Councillor George.
Thank you, and through you and the talking stick, and members of somebody's cutting me over here. When the talking stick is present, you're supposed to speak through the talking stick. I'll have to remember that. So, anyways, I just want to say I do appreciate Mr. Downey's comments. I've had the pleasure of listening to his viewpoints on many applications over many years, and you know, he has a good perspective on, you know, what we as a municipality like to see in our heritage throughout the city and so on and so on. But however, we also have a heritage committee with many talented individuals on that committee as well. And I put trust in them. That's why we select the membership and we put those people in on the committee, so that we have some trust in their ability to assess the permits and provide a recommendation to our council. So I think they've done their due diligence. They've obviously have done some negotiating. They've reviewed. They've presented to council now a recommendation that they feel is appropriate for this particular piece of property. And because there's one neighbor, as I understand from what I'm hearing through the delegation this evening and whatever, that doesn't feel that it fits well with their view of heritage and the neighborhood, doesn't mean that that's the viewpoint of others throughout the neighborhood and those that will come and view and respect the heritage that we've tried to maintain in our community. So I think it's, you know, from what I understand, there's been a bit of a compromise. So I think taking that into account, I'm certainly supportive of what's being presented here, and I think council should move forward with this. It's nice to hear the other side, but we do have some very talented individuals who have worked through this process, have made a decision and recommendation to us. So I would urge council to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Shell.
Patterson, yes, I can't emphasize enough how much time people took on this. There were a couple of meetings with the proponents, with the Heritage Committee, with Councillor Stroud, myself, and staff, and the owners of the property, and that the two gentlemen that were here tonight came to Heritage and presented, and it's page 88 that has the final comments from the Heritage Kingston. And even Don Taylor, who is one of our more precise members of the committee, supported staff's recommendation, talked about the generous size of the lot in the front yard. Actually, page 27 does show the siting of the house compared to the one beside it. And even with the garage, the end of the garage will meet the back of the house. I mean, it's a huge front yard and a tiny backyard. So there really wasn't any other spot. Maybe as time goes by, they will reduce it to two-car garage. But in the long run, the part of the garage that you're going to see from the street is a very pretty brick building with landscaping. So to my pleasure, actually, the committee generally supported it, even knowing that there was this contentious part of it. The detail of the design and the chance to have this house turn back into something quite spectacular excited the committee very much. So I'm very supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote then on clause, oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through the talking stick. Just got to get that in. I just think it wouldn't be fair to the committee for us to meddle with this and to change it at this point, and I don't think it would be fair to the owner. And they've spent a lot of time, they've probably spent a lot of money on the plans, and it looks like a beautiful design, so I think we should leave it as it is. I think it's a good design, there's lots of space. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote on Clause 1. And that carries. Okay, moving on, nothing from Committee of the Whole. We have several information reports. If you have a question, please raise your hand as I read through them. Number 1, Quarterly Report Tourism Kingston, Q1 2018. Quarterly Report Kingston Economic Development Corporation, Q1 2018. Tender and contract awards subject to the established criteria for delegation of authority for the month of April 2018. 2017 Development Charge Reserve Fund Statement and 2017 Impost Fee Reserve Fund Statement. Okay, we have no information reports from members of council. Miscellaneous business. We have a couple of motions. First, that as requested by Think First Parachute Organization, that council proclaim July 5th, 2018 as National Injury Prevention Day in the city of Kingston, moved by Deputy Mayor Holland, seconded by Councillor Osanek. Please vote. And that carries. Motion number 2, that notwithstanding section 3.1.4, subsection 5 of the Illumination of City Facilities Policy, Kingston City Council approve the illumination of City Hall and Springer Market Square on July 5th, 2018 for National Injury Prevention Day. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, we have one new motion, moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Mayor Patterson. Whereas the United Nations Environmental Program estimates that 8 million tons of the plastic produced globally every year finds its way into our oceans, food chains, and ecosystems, damaging our health in the process. And whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities at their June 2018 annual conference adopted a motion that, among other things, urges the federal government to create a national strategy to mitigate and manage marine litter with an emphasis on plastics. And whereas several forms of single-use plastics cannot be effectively recycled or reused in Kingston and end up as landfilled waste or litter, and whereas Kingston is a Great Lakes community with responsibilities to and benefits from a clean lake environment, and whereas the City of Kingston is committed to diverting waste from landfill and to reducing community greenhouse gas emissions, therefore be it resolved that Council directs staff to provide a report with recommendations in 2019 to the Environment, Infrastructure and Transportation Policies Committee meeting regarding the current status of single-use plastics management in Kingston and options for local action to reduce litter and waste created by the use and disposal of single-use plastics in Kingston. Councillor Bohm, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, and thanks again for seconding this. So basically the motion's pretty self-explanatory. I want to thank staff for some of the wording and everything. Essentially, though, this is a plan for the city to move forward, but what I want to do is basically put the encouragement out to the community that just because this is going to take some time for us to come up with a plan, there's already numerous examples out there. Le Chien Noir, Atomica, Harper's Burger Bar, Diane's Fish Shack and Smokehouse, and even nationwide, the A&W chain has announced that by 2019, they're going to eliminate single-use plastic. So there's like straws that are basically, will last for a few hours in soda or water or whatever. So there are other options out there. Just a challenge. You don't have to wait for us to come up with a plan. There's lots of things you can do on your own. Everybody's always asking, what can I do? And you can simply just say no straw, please. It's the simplest thing. So, I mean, this is great. I'm glad that staff will look at ways that we can mitigate this as a city and try to come up with a comprehensive plan. But in the meantime, every day everybody can make a difference, and the smallest ripple can lead to a tidal wave of change. So thanks very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Totally thank you, Councillor Bohm and Mayor Patterson, for bringing this forward. You beat me to it. I had spoken to a colleague about bringing forward a very similar motion. I totally support and appreciate the motion you brought forward, and I'm glad you recognized a local champion for this in Tim Pater, who has already done this in his restaurants. And hopefully we can applaud those restaurants that adopt this policy before it becomes, so it never has to become a kind of law of the land. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Osana.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also this motion. There's some really powerful documentaries out there. Bag It, Addicted to Plastic, Waterworks, that really shows just how prevalent all the plastics are to end up in, St. Lawrence, Lake Ontario, St. Lawrence River, into the oceans, and it's then forever in there, and horrible on all the wildlife effects. And when this report comes back to EIT committee in 2019, it would be good too if just then broadly, our waterfront parks or beaches, maybe more garbage cans could be put in there, because it's not just the people, sipping the drinks with straws or other single-use plastics, but sometimes, you're just on the shoreline and you see the plastics washing in from the water, that other people have put in the water. And the more garbage cans, as you're waiting for the dog to come back with its stick or waiting for the kids to come back and with their kayaks, you'd be more prone to pick up the plastics that are along the water's edge and put them in the garbage can if there was a garbage can. So hopefully that will be in the report in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Holland.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, because it does say plastic, so I'm assuming that the report will include information on plastic bags, et cetera? Getting nods? Okay. That's great, and I guess all I would say in the meantime is just to challenge residents and members of council to think carefully when you go to the grocery store, as an example, because I know that we are getting to the point, we are having tough conversations with having producers pay for the cost of dealing with some of these products, and simply sort of not rewarding producers by purchasing excessive packaging is a really good strategy too. Thanks.
You, Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank Councillor Bohm for bringing this up. Hopefully it will be fairly broad and not just about straws, but straws are important. What brought this to my mind is a couple of things. Is just about the same time as there was the article in the Whig. Just before that, there was an article, I think it was in the Financial Post, about this, and basically saying that plastics were turning up in humans on the cellular and even genetic level. And it was a fairly scary article, actually. And that now this would be maybe a game changer in terms of our attitude towards plastic, because now health was being introduced as an issue. Back a few years ago, KEEF, our environmental advisory group, looked at plastic bags, and someone I know actually wrote the report. And it turned out that the energy use of using plastic bags versus using paper bags didn't really work out. You couldn't, because you can ship so many more plastic bags than paper bags. Essentially was the argument went, so Keefe dropped that on the basis of that paper. But now that it's a health issue, the person in the article said, maybe this is like smoking. People suddenly or slowly come to the realization that this is a really big issue that we've been ignoring, let's face it. And so another article that I saw, and I'm doing this, saying this because it supports the motion, is the Great Pacific, I can't remember what they call it, but it's a plastic, area of plastic in the Pacific that is miles and miles and miles wide and incredibly hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet deep. And they've now started doing experiments. It's like dredging it. They bring it up and say what's here and what's going on. And there are places, bigger than that table out there, and then other things that are little tiny things that are getting into waterfowl, and fish, and so on. So I welcome this because clearly we need to do something. And so if this is a start, great. So thank you again, Councillor Bowman, the seconder, and I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor George.
Thank you, Worship, through you and the talking stick. Very quickly. After all the years of working with Councillor Neal, I think that's the first time I've said that. This is a subject that we dealt with at AMO as well on Friday. So I won't go into all the details, but I believe the report is available on the AMO website, what their goals and the direction they're heading in and approaching the province and so on, a lot of this. So if you have the time, take a look at the website and see if the report's there, and it'll be some healthy reading for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will call the vote on new motion number 1. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, we have no other new motions. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Boehm, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2018-15 held Tuesday, June 12, 2018 be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. We have some tabling of documents, a number of communications. Is there any other business? Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for bylaws, please.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Turner, that bylaws 1, 2, and 4 through 18 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Turner, that Clause 11.34 of Bylaw Number 2010-1 be suspended for the purpose of giving bylaws 4 through 7 3 readings.
Please vote.
One more, please.
And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Turner, that bylaws 3 through 18 be given their third reading.
Please vote. And that carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff. Please vote. It was some serious hand waving, Councillor Neal. I was very impressed. One more.
One more.
If everyone can vote, please. And that carries. Thank you very much.